And so I have a wild card for you here because you brought up Edgar Allan Poe. So I want to bring up two of my favorite personalities, one literary and not so much, who many would be surprised had a relationship. I know I was. Arthur Conan Doyle and Harry Houdini.
Yes, and I know why.
Yes. So Arthur Conan Doyle, beloved author, creator of Sherlock Holmes, was a spiritualist, meaning that
heavy duty.
He had a very, very strong obsession with the whole idea of communicating with the dead and everything. And I years ago, I recommended to you a very little-known short story by Arthur Conan Doyle called "Through the Veil." Do you remember this story I recommended to you? And
yes.
and it's amazing because most people don't associate Conan Doyle with those things. They know he's the creator of Sherlock Holmes, but Through the Veil is about like reincarnation. But anyway, the funny thing here is that, and here's where you really have to open up your heart, because Conan Doyle, everybody would think, oh, he is like so stolid, and stolid is the word, and solid and down to earth, because he's like, Sherlock Holmes is like all logic and analysis and cold deduction. And yet Conan Doyle was a believer in this unbelievable nonsense, right? Now, Harry Houdini, whose real name is Eric Weiss, whose father was an Orthodox rabbi in Hungary, I believe, and settled in Appleton, Wisconsin, became a rabbi there. I could talk for a long time about Harry Houdini. He's a very, very old favorite of mine, and his whole obsession with being an escape artist and everything. I have a lot to say about how that developed, but that's for another time. But in any event, so Harry Houdini, whose whole life was illusion, he became the strongest opponent to this whole movement of spiritualism. And what I didn't realize, which is fascinating, is that the two of them were friends, and they corresponded, even though they came from opposite sides of the pole. But they both went on extensive speaking tours in the United States of America at a time, and I guess it was the very early 1900s or the end of the 1800s, a time when all of this was boiling and it was very popular. And sometimes they would be speaking in the same town in two different lecture halls. And one of the main kind of like linchpins of all of this was something called spirit photography.
The little
spirit photography.
The little girls.
Yes,
the little girls who took pictures of that they purported were fairies.
Yes, so spirit photography was a very popular thing in those years when people would produce these photographs showing, purporting to show, someone is just taking a scene of like a little girl playing with her kitten.
Ectoplasm.
And in the background, there's some figure and all sorts of things. Caused a tremendous to-do. This is before Photoshop and every sort of sophisticated program that we had. But apparently it was very easy to create with what they call double exposure, all sorts of things. So Conan Doyle was a huge believer in these ridiculous spirit photographs, and Houdini was this vigilante champion against all things of that nature, and Houdini would go around, this is at the end of his life, lecturing audiences about how this stuff is all a scam, and Conan Doyle was the greatest.
Rabbi, he was like Abraham going into his father's shop and chopping up the idols.
Exactly.
I mean, he literally was going around and exposing these frauds,
Houdini,
and these shysters that were taking people's money.
Right. But again, I'm only saying all of this in terms of the question that I received, should we be celebrating Halloween or not? I mean, I don't know, if you want candy and you trust your neighbors to give your kids candy, I mean, that's one thing. But I mean, this other business is very dark. It's very dark, and it's very, very strange that people somehow resonate with all of that. But again, the bottom line that I wanted to point out is that it's all like kind of designed to plant within a person these feelings of vulnerability and doubt, and the main thing is division, as opposed to the total unity of creation and the total unity of all things, which is the truth of Torah, and that science is basically proving. And the beautiful interaction between the truth of Torah and the truth of science, it's so absolutely spellbinding. But I found this really quite amazing. You know, the relationship that the two of them had. They were both amazing, extraordinary people, and they took opposite sides of this. What apparently in the end of the Victorian age was a tremendously raging debate. You know, this concept of.
It showed you where the world was in the days of Houdini and Arthur Conan Doyle, and it's almost like we had likened the creation story of this roiling mass of elements, and humanity, or especially in those days, they were churning the intellectual and spiritual pot and trying to get to a place of understanding. Everybody wanted to get back to Hashem. I don't think a lot of them viewed it that way,